It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It's 9:30. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey.
Coming up on the programme today, Sir Keir Starmer braces himself for rebuke at the NATO summit today, as US President Donald Trump is expected to challenge the Prime Minister on defence spending failures.
How do you penalise him for a game that hasn't been played yet? It's very unfair. You can't do that. So, yes.
Foul play. President Trump's now admitted he lobbied the FIFA boss 3 times to rescind a red card ban for the top US goal scorer. Now the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, is under huge pressure to resign, and so he should.
They can either be on the side of victims, including victims of some of the most horrendous crimes like rape and child grooming, or they can be on the side of the criminals that are going to be let out.
Today, the Tories call on Labour to block sex offenders from the government's early prison release scheme. Rotherham abuse survivor Sarah Wilson spoke to GB News this morning.
It's not fair, you know, we've put our lives on the line to bring justice, to bring these men to justice, and we're having it chucked straight back in the faces.
Prince Harry has arrived in Britain for his long-awaited trip. King, it appears, lost patience with his wayward son. We'll give you all the details. Bethany, we talked a bit about the football yesterday, that Trump intervened.
Yeah.
Pointless anyway, because America lost 4-1 to Belgium, but it was their top player. And I still think it's an extraordinary that the president got involved, but what's even more extraordinary is that the president of FIFA agreed to step in and lift what should have been an automatic ban on a player. And if you remember, in our last game, a player got sent off. The Prime Minister, who's going to see Trump at the NATO summit, is he going to lobby to get the red card ban lifted on him?
Well, Sir Keir Starmer is also going to meet with Norway's Prime Minister at the NATO summit. So will it actually be defence they're talking about, or could it just be the football in this whole saga about the red card ban being reversed? Let us know what you think by getting in touch by visiting gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Good morning. The top stories. The Duke of Sussex is set to discover the result of his High Court case against the Daily Mail's publisher as he returns to the UK after an 11-week trial earlier this year in his claim against Associated Newspapers Limited over alleged unlawful information gathering. A&L strongly denies the claims and defended the case. Sir Keir Starmer is heading into what could be a difficult NATO summit after the US warned allies they're not spending enough on defence. Officials pointed to a £15 billion boost to defence spending in last week's long-delayed defence investment plan, saying Sir Keir would use the summit to demonstrate how we're turning these pledges into action. The prison's watchdog says it'll keep a close eye on criminals released early from jail under a government scheme amid concerns that rapists could be among them. And the UK has entered its third heatwave so far this year, with temperatures predicted to climb as high as 35 degrees in some parts of the country later on this week. Those are the latest headlines for now. More at 10 o'clock.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Tatiana, thank you. Hello and welcome to Britain's Newsroom, live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and me, Bethany Elsey.
Well, Sir Keir Starmer, often called Never Hear Keir, he's heading into what could be a difficult NATO summit, personally for him too, because of course it will be his last overseas engagement as Prime Minister. He's going to that NATO summit. He's in the air as we speak, as the US has warned its allies they're lagging behind on defence spending. And clearly Donald Trump means us.
Well, it follows the release of the government's defence investment plan last week, under which UK defence spending is set to rise to 2.7% of GDP by 2030, with a stated ambition of reaching 3% during the next Parliament.
Well, let's speak to the former Labour Defence Secretary, Geoff Hoon. Mr Hoon, good morning to you.
Good morning.
This is uncomfortable for the Prime Minister in two ways. It is his last engagement overseas as Prime Minister, but also we know that Donald Trump doesn't hold back, and we've seen that the US ambassador to NATO has accused certain nations of lagging behind, and those that are lagging behind should step up. That's us, isn't it? Because we're only going to be spending 2.7% of GDP on defence, and the ambition was to be at least 3% by 2030.
Well, I see no reason why we can't reach 3% by 2030. I think the bigger issue is 3.5% by 2035, which is one of the discussions that they will be having at the NATO summit.
But also, of course, the Prime Minister, whatever we know that he's bequeathed to his successor, who we are saying on this station, I think we're safe to assume it's Andy Burnham, a £15 billion black hole in defence spending. That's going to make it's hard to plug, but also that's going to make it almost impossible to reach that 3% GDP target.
I don't believe that's necessarily the case. I'm sure, and I know not, but I'm sure that one of the first things I would do in Andy Burnham's position is to have a comprehensive spending review, looking at the spending of all government departments where cuts can be made or where increased spending is necessary, as in defence. And that would report to him, I suspect, sometime in the autumn, and then his spending plans, rather than those he inherits from Keir Starmer, could then be put into play. And I think that defence would be part of that he recognises that it's necessary to increase defence spending. We're currently dealing with Keir Starmer's plans. That will obviously change once we have a new Prime Minister.
But, Geoff, the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, has already accused Andy Burnham of having no plan. And from what we've seen over the last few weeks, Sir Keir Starmer couldn't really get his head around how to keep his own defence secretary. Can he really be taken seriously on the world stage, or at least the European stage, in the NATO summit?
Well, inessential questions are one of the reasons why Labour MPs decided that they wanted a new leader and therefore a new Prime Minister for the country. Everything will then be on the table once a new Prime Minister arrives, and assuming that is Andy Burnham, as I say, I'm reasonably confident that he would want to look at all department spending plans to see what flexibility there was available, and then to increase defence spending, and perhaps in other departments to cut back on spending where he judges it not to be necessary.
But John Healey, in his resignation letter, and also in the Commons when he resignation statement effectively said that the defence investment plan was not enough, and Britain effectively would not be able to protect itself. That was a very, very damaging charge against the outgoing Prime Minister.
It was a very, very tough criticism of what has happened, and I don't think anybody can deny that. And central to his complaint was the difficulty of reaching NATO spending targets. And his argument was that there was no clear path to those targets. And in a sense, that's why the meeting in Ankara, the NATO meeting that's about to take place, is linked to the question of John Healey's resignation. So I accept that that is a valid comment about what has happened, but equally I recognise that things are going to change with a new Prime Minister.
You've been a Defence Secretary and you've been a veteran of the Labour Party. You know that one of Andy Burnham's most important jobs is to win the next general election for Labour. Will he see that there are votes in massively increasing defence spending if he has to do that, perhaps at the expense of cutting back on what I would call the bloated welfare bill?
I think that's a very good question, and no one yet knows the answer to that. But I'm absolutely clear that it needs to be done. And the question then is whether Labour MPs share that view. I think you're right to raise the issue. I think there's a broader question, though, which is the attitude of the public. What's interesting about the NATO summit is that some countries have already got pretty near to their 5%. And those countries are countries like Poland, the Baltic states. They're the countries that neighbour Russia. They're the countries that feel most threatened by Russian aggression. They've seen what's happened not only in Ukraine, but in Georgia and in other countries in the near abroad to Russia. They know the way in which Russia intimidates its neighbours, and they've been prepared to step up and increase their defence spending. Largely, I suspect, because their public supports that. And the issue for the incoming Prime Minister and his government will be whether the public in the United Kingdom support those changes. For the moment, the public, I think, likes to see spending on health and education, welfare perhaps as well, but they're less happy at the moment about spending on defence because they don't necessarily see that we are threatened. And I think part of the challenge for the Prime Minister will be demonstrating that Russia is really a threat to the people of the United Kingdom.
Do you think do you, as a former Defence Secretary, think they are?
I think there's no doubt that we are, and what John Healey's been talking about very recently in terms of the intimidation that Russia is already embarked on, the threat to our aircraft and submarines. At the moment, it's not a threat of invasion, but at the same time, there's little doubt that Russia is a threat to Europe, and that's why Europe, and I don't often agree with Donald Trump, but on this occasion, he's right. It's why Europe has to increase its defence spending, has to make its defence more effective, and has to recognise that the United States may not come to its rescue.
OK, former Labour Defence Secretary Geoff Hoon, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Let's speak now to the former Conservative Defence Secretary, Liam Fox. So, Liam, we just heard there that Russia is a growing threat. How on earth do we grapple with Labour's defence or the government's defence spending plan when it's been so chaotic and even the plans that have been published aren't good enough?
Well, it's called leadership. It's not what the public wants. It's what the government understands as its duty. And its first duty is the protection of the United Kingdom and its people. And the second thing to say about that is it's not discretionary. When the threat level goes up, the defence spending needs to increase proportionately, because you can't simply say the threat is going up today, we'll spend a bit more in a few years' time. So it is about understanding the necessary duties of government and also providing the political leadership to say to the country, you may want spending in other areas, but we must make spending in areas like defence, because the level of the threat to our country has grown substantially in recent years.
So, Liam, you were just saying there leadership is key. What does it look like at the NATO summit with an outgoing Prime Minister who couldn't even keep his own Defence Secretary and an incoming Prime Minister who, or essentially an incoming Prime Minister in Andy Burnham, who doesn't actually have an international plan?
Well, you have to remember that NATO is both a defensive alliance and a political organisation. And the political side will be more awkward even than the military side, because what effectively you've got is a Labour Party that's decided to change from Keir Starmer, not because Keir Starmer wouldn't spend enough money on defence, but he's not spending enough on the things that will actually make defence more difficult, things like welfare. You have to remember that since Labour came to power, they've increased welfare spending by £57 billion, and they plan to increase it further by another £40 billion by 2029. And against all of that, they can't find £5 billion to fully fund some of their own commitments, not all of their own commitments, on defence. It's an absolute shambles. And of course, they've decided to change to somebody without knowing what they think on defence. So it's a change to what, we're all asking.
And the front page of the Telegraph today, Liam, you've probably seen it, is a report suggesting that Sir Keir Starmer is going to push at the NATO summit this week for Britain to be the lead nation in developing a new long-range missile, a European missile, to end the reliance on the United States. I could ask you, basically, do you agree with that idea? But secondly, how could Britain possibly afford it when we can't even... when we know, as part of this defence investment plan, they're cutting back spending on Ministry of Defence accommodation for our military. Very important that our armed forces are put in comfortable accommodation, and some of it, as you know, is substandard. So we can't afford to renovate those properties, but he's talking about this long-range missile. There seems an inherent conflict here.
Well, militarily, if we need a new a long-range missile, and we want to ensure that we have independent capabilities from the United States, whether you think that's a good thing or not, then of course we should be developing new defence equipment all the time. The question about spending, as I say, is quite a different one. The government made 62 commitments in its defence review. Very good defence review carried out by George Robertson, former Defence Secretary, former head of NATO. And the government agreed to all 62 recommendations in that report. They said that that was correct and it was proportionate to the threat the country faces. Now, that bill was going to be £28 billion, but the government have said they will only fund by £15 billion any extra, and of that they've only actually identified 10, leaving Andy Burnham to find another 5, as you said earlier. This is all about choices. It's about what sort of Britain we live in. Is it a Britain that wants to be configured for welfare, or a Britain that wants to be configured for warfare and defence? And I'm afraid that the current government have chosen the former. And even in making that increase in defence spending, which is only about half of what Labour themselves say they need, one of the contributions to that is to be a delay, perhaps an end, to the upgrading of military accommodation. And it's going to be self-defeating, because not only have they abandoned plans to increase the cadet force and improve military housing, which was supposed to improve recruitment and retention in the armed forces, but they've cut back on both. So they're likely to find themselves with an increasing problem in attracting people into the armed forces or keeping people who are already there. It is a shambolic picture. And it really needs to change, and change urgently. Keir Starmer will be talking to our NATO allies at the end of his premiership, having failed to increase spending to anything like the levels that he committed to, without even a trajectory of getting there sometime in the future, cutting back on our military accommodation quality, making recruitment and retention more difficult, and with plans to underfund defence and increase welfare spending even more. So both on the military and the political fronts, it will be a very uncomfortable NATO meeting for the Prime Minister.
Sir Liam, thank you so much. That's Sir Liam Fox, the former Conservative Defence Secretary. Well, and of course we will be at the NATO summit. I think Catherine Forster will be there with us. So,
absolutely. We'll keep you up to date with all the twists and turns from there. I'm sure Donald Trump won't pull any punches on what he thinks about it all.
I suspect. I hope Keir Starmer's taken his punch bag with him, because he's going to be a bit bruised by the Prime Minister. Now, still to come out, Prince Harry is in Britain. As you know, he's not staying at Buckingham Palace. All the papers are full of why the King blocked him staying there.
Absolutely. And President Trump has admitted he personally lobbied FIFA's boss to overturn the suspension for a US top striker. But should politics get involved in sport?
No.
Absolutely. Let us know what you think. But first, here's your forecast for the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
pretty much wall-to-wall strong sunshine across the Mediterranean for this week. Very hot too in Spain and Portugal. That heat slowly easing. Pretty warm too in the Canaries. Light winds, lots of blue sky for Spain, Portugal, for Mallorca as well, and most of Italy. Small chance of 1 or 2 showers across the east. The odd shower inland across Greece as well. But most of the Greek islands dry and sunny. Plenty more blue sky to come through the rest of this week. Temperatures easing a touch in Spain.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The completion of the challenge, the Princess of Wales was met by her family, including the Prince of Wales and her 3 children.
Lovely. All right, let's talk to former Royal Butler, Grant Harold. Grant, honestly, that little video there just seemed to say it all to me, because it was clearly all just off the cuff, not a prepared speech. She just came across as someone who really cares about what she does.
She does, and I mean, she's remarkable because, as you said, it was just suddenly announced last night that she'd done this. And not that I'm a huge expert in this, but it's quite a challenge. I actually know somebody that did it recently. I mean, I think you've got to walk about 23, 24 miles. You're climbing about up to, is it 9,000 feet? You're travelling over 500 miles. It's 3 highest peaks in the UK, Scotland, England, and Wales. I mean, it's a remarkable achievement.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In his 23 years of service, Alan was deployed to a number of conflicts, including the Gulf War. He met his wife Tracy Ann when he returned to civilian life, and Alan is proud of his time in the forces.
The actual Gulf War, it was during this Scud missile sort of crisis, if you like, and I found that quite worrying because it was so random. If somebody points a rifle at you and intends to kill you, that's one thing. But these missiles were just fired into nowhere. One of the camps got hit. A lot of US servicemen got killed. And RAF regiment fellas went in to help. And the effects of war are clearly not nice. But if it was done for the right reasons, it had to be done.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
No, Cameron, so it's the first monarch ever to do this, then, isn't it? What's your take on what we've seen in the data here?
Well, Patrick, for GB News audiences, I spent 5 hours in financial briefings with all of these documents, so you don't have to go through them all, and we've assimilated them with my producer, Tom, this afternoon and evening for you. As you said, Patrick, at the start of your piece there, I think a lot of our audience are probably going to be wondering why £370 million, roughly, of their money is being spent on resurfacing a building, Buckingham Palace, which no monarch is unlikely to ever live in ever again. The money that the king surrenders the profits of from the Crown Estates to the Treasury in exchange for a percentage to fund the official duties, that percentage for almost a decade has been much higher.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's 9 minutes to 10. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
So should the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, quit after he agreed with Donald Trump's request to lift the automatic ban on an American striker who'd been given a red card in the previous game? It's caused a huge rumpus. Let's talk to the political correspondent, Benedict Spence. Are you there, Benedict? Benedict, should politicians...
Can you hear me?
I mean, this is probably the most outrageous act by the President of the United States. They hosted the World Cup, but what's more outrageous is that this ridiculous FIFA chief agreed to the bullying by Trump and lifted the ban. Can the FIFA chief survive this? And should politicians ever get involved in sport like this in the first place?
I mean, if left to their own devices, yes, Gianni Infantino absolutely can survive this, and that's because there are no depths to which a FIFA president will not plumb in the pursuit of making his clients happy. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's come as any surprise to people to learn that FIFA might not take its own rules very seriously and might look to bend them where possible. Honestly, I thought it was rather amusing, though, yesterday, given that the former president of FIFA, Sepp Blatter, who, of course, was brought down in the end because of overt allegations of corruption, took to social media to say, oh, this really isn't on. The beautiful game is really gone. If we're getting to this stage and thinking, well, if Sepp Blatter thinks that this is a bit dodgy, what does that say? But no, I don't think that Gianni Infantino will go anywhere because nobody will take a stand against him. And I think that this is the key thing. Ultimately, what matters much more to countries is that they get to take part in the World Cup. You know, if you wanted to oust a FIFA president like this, you would need countries like England ultimately to say, we're not going to take part anymore, because that would then cut off the viability, the financial viability of FIFA. And that's what it's all about. But no, you're right. It was, I mean, these were new depths. This was pretty disgraceful that the host nation effectively gets to just have its star striker back for a key match like this. And I think many people ultimately feel pretty happy, therefore, that the United States got a bit of a bloody nose last night. The Belgians were furious about this, and it seems that they took it out on the USA men's team.
Yeah, and they won 4-1, so it's all in vain. And of course, I mean, I'm not advocating this, Benedict, but an English player was sent off in the last game. If the British Prime Minister was so minded, he could call up this ridiculous FIFA president and say, oi, what about the red card being lifted on our player so he can play in the game against Norway on Saturday?
Yeah, Jarell Quansah won't be able to play, which is a bit of a shame. But, you know, the difficulty is, of course, if we got Keir Starmer or Lord Hermer to call up Gianni Infantino to try and get the red card overturned, we'd probably end up giving the Shetland Islands away to Norway as part of the deal. So, yeah, it's one of those where you have to go and go, OK, maybe it's for the best that we don't get involved in this sort of thing, because we're not the most talented at it. And actually, I'd go all the way back to the World Cup. I think it was the World Cup that was awarded to Russia that we bid quite substantially for. It might have been the previous one in South Africa, where we put the whole charm offensive out for FIFA. We invited delegates over. Prince William was at the heart of the bid. And ultimately, we didn't get anywhere because in England, and this is kind of the core thing when it comes to our sport, in Britain, we believe in fair play. And it's come as a bit of a cultural shock to us that the rest of the world sees that as slightly optional, certainly when it comes to FIFA.
I think what's confusing about all of this, though, is that while admitting that he intervened and asked for a review, Donald Trump was adamant that it wasn't a foul, that Balogun didn't foul the other player, but then also admitted he didn't know what a red card meant. So, I mean, yes, politics shouldn't get involved in sport, but especially in this case, if he doesn't even understand the rules, surely.
It's so delightfully Trumpian to assert something as fact, despite admitting basically his own fallibility in this issue. I mean, it's one of the red card itself was one of those where I don't think it was deliberate, but you saw the angle. If anybody's seen it, you saw the angle at which the foot stood on the ankle. It's a pretty clear red card. But you know, on some level, I kind of have always admired that chutzpah of Donald Trump, that he is prepared to say out loud one thing and then immediately contradict it with another. I will miss him when he's gone, but I am really glad that it hasn't worked out for him on this occasion and that the USA got their comeuppance.
All right, Benedict, well said, Benedict Spence. And of course, there is a photograph of Donald Trump with a red card with Infantino in 2018, so he did know what a red card was. I think he was fibbing yet again. Still
Probably.
ahead.
Still to come, the Tories are set to call on Labour to block sex offenders from the government's early prison release scheme. We'll have all that and more after the break.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The M60 anti-clockwise is closed between junctions 24 and 23 near Stockport. There is a collision on the A1M southbound in northbound Yorkshire causing delays. The A610 eastbound is closed after the M1 junction 26 near Nottingham. The M42 northbound lane is closed at junction 6 in Solihull due to bridge works, with delays expected. North of the border, the A75 eastbound exit slip at Gretna is closed, causing delays. And on the trains, there is major disruption on cross-country and southwestern railway services between Bournemouth and Brockenhurst. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's Tuesday the 7th of July and just gone 10 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and me, Bethany Elsey.
Sir Keir Starmer will be given a dressing down, no doubt, at the NATO summit today. His last engagement overseas as Prime Minister. Donald Trump is expected to challenge the Prime Minister on the failure to spend more on defence.
How do you penalise them for a game that hasn't been played yet? It's very unfair. You can't do that. So, yes, I asked for a review by FIFA.
Foul play. President Donald Trump admits he lobbied FIFA's boss to rescind a red card ban for the top US goal scorer. Now, FIFA's president Gianni Infantino is under huge pressure to resign.
They can either be on the side of victims, including victims of some of the most horrendous crimes like rape and child grooming, or they can be on the side of the criminals that are going to be let out.
Well, today the Tories are having a Commons vote to try to get Labour to block sex offenders from the government's early prison release scheme. What will Andy Burnham do about that? Rotherham abuse survivor Sarah Wilson spoke to GB News this morning.
It's not fair, you know, we've put our lives on the line to bring justice, to bring these men to justice, and we're having it chucked straight back in the faces.
And Prince Harry touches down in Britain, but has the King finally lost patience with his son? We'll have all the details on what he's doing here soon.
Well, a complete day of chaos at Buckingham Palace yesterday. Prince Harry spending the night in private accommodation. Today his focus is on Invictus, but also crucially, that case against the Daily Mail publisher. That judgment being handed down at 2 o'clock today.
Well, the on again, off again, where will he stay, where won't he stay? It seems like that decision's been made. Prince Harry won't be staying at Buckingham Palace, despite his team saying he did accept the offer to stay. But it was too late. It was too short notice to make arrangements. Where is he going to stay? And what on earth is going to be the verdict of this Daily Mail case?
The King apparently just lost complete patience with his son, who was on, off, on, off, on, off. So he's presumably having to pay for his own accommodation, or perhaps he's staying with a friend if he's got any left. As ever, we'd like to hear what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Bethany, thank you very much. The top stories. The Duke of Sussex is set to discover the result of his High Court case against the Daily Mail's publisher as he returns to the UK. Harry arrived in the UK last night. Will be in the country when the judgment is published this afternoon after an 11-week trial earlier this year. And his claim is against Associated Newspapers Limited over alleged unlawful information gathering. A&L strongly denies the claims and defended the case. It comes as Harry's accommodation arrangements for his UK visit descended into chaos ahead of 5 days of appearances in London and Birmingham. The Duke will not stay at Buckingham Palace during his return, with his spokesman saying it was disappointing the offer from the King had been withdrawn at the last moment, with the looming judgment given as the reason. Sir Keir Starmer is heading into what could be a difficult NATO summit after the US warned allies they're not spending enough on defence. Officials pointed to a £15 billion boost to defence spending in last week's defence investment plan, saying Starmer would use the summit to demonstrate how we're turning the pledges into action. Let's take you now to the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, who's speaking in central London.
National security. Instead, we have the opposite. Just at a time when Britain needs focus, Westminster has never been more distracted. We are sending an outgoing Prime Minister to that NATO summit who's completely powerless, and he is taking with him a defence investment plan which he knows is not fit for purpose, with barely half of the additional funding that our armed forces need. So little that the former Defence Secretary quit the government because he believed the plans would put British troops in danger. Are we really supposed to pretend that didn't happen? I bet you haven't forgotten, have you? No. And then it transpired that the small amount of money that had been announced wasn't even funded. Keir Starmer has left a £5 billion black hole for his successor. He stands up at PMQs and tells us everything is going fine. Britain's armed forces have never had it so good. And then the Labour MPs cheer. But we all know that they aren't really listening. They haven't realised that the problems with the Defence Investment Plan have not gone away just because Andy Burnham is riding to their rescue. And have you actually heard Andy Burnham say anything about the threats that we face? Have you heard him say anything about the threats we face? Last week, the RAF intercepted a Russian warplane. It was dropping sonar devices right next to a British aircraft carrier. What did Andy Burnham say? Nothing. Our undersea cables are already under constant attack. The next Russian assault on them could knock out the internet across the United Kingdom. What has Andy Burnham said about that? Nothing. Said nothing. Defence of this country should be his #1 priority. But he says he wants to spend less time on foreign affairs. Meanwhile, Reform are demanding a general election. They might be ready for campaigning. They are not ready for government. They haven't even bothered to appoint a defence spokesman. They are completely distracted by their constant scandals and personal dramas. They think immigration is the only national security issue. They blame NATO for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Can you believe that? Their former leader in Wales is in prison for taking bribes from Russia. And don't get me started on the Greens who think that NATO should be abolished. You heard anything so ridiculous? I don't think that Vladimir Putin is going to be worried about Nigel Farage. And I don't think he's going to be worried about Andy Burnham either. Putin doesn't care how nationalised your buses are, and he doesn't care whether number 10 is in Manchester or London. What Vladimir Putin is interested in is whether Britain can defend herself or not. At a time when we need serious leadership, there is only one party acting with any common sense. There is only one party with a plan to keep Britain safe, and that is the Conservatives. Why is no other party supporting our plan to fund Britain's defence? It's because they don't understand the threats we face, and they're not interested either. They're not worried about Chinese spies. They're not worried about Russian aggression. They want us to spend less time thinking about Iran, who's threatening our oil supplies. Well, I am worried about Britain's national security, and that is why my team and I are coming up with the plans to keep this country safe. During an era of peace, defence spending went down as Britain focused on other priorities. We are no longer living in an era of peace. The threat level has changed, and it is time for us to respond. Conservatives want Britain to fund defence properly, so we have worked up a plan to save billions on welfare and spend that money on defence instead. And yes, that does mean making some tough choices. Politicians are here to make tough choices, but Labour MPs don't want to make those tough choices. And I think that's because they're not really Labour MPs. Do you think they're Labour MPs? No, I don't think they're Labour MPs. They are welfare MPs. They are welfare MPs. They are... That is all they care about. It's all they care about. MPs who go around asking who they can tax to pay for more benefits. And I know that Andy Burnham will not have the votes for tough choices. He may have a big majority. He doesn't have the votes for tough choices. And I've already offered to work with Labour on this. And so I will reiterate my offer to the incoming Prime Minister, whether it's Andy Burnham or maybe even Al Carnes. He's not telling us what he's doing. But Andy Burnham, who's most likely, says that he wants to do politics differently. So let's do it. And I say to him, work with us and let's agree a plan to cut welfare and fund defence. Sadly, I suspect, like Keir Starmer, he's not going to take me up on this offer. But Britain cannot be put in danger. It cannot be put in danger because of self-interested Labour MPs blind to what everyone can see needs to be done. Everyone, including the former Labour Defence Secretary and NATO Secretary-General Lord Robertson, including former Labour Prime Minister Tony Blair. They agree with us because this is common sense. Conservatives want our governments to prioritise our national interest. That's why we spent months working to kill Starmer's terrible Chagos deal. Apparently, Andy Burnham wants to bring it back. What is it? It is a shame. It is a shame. What is it about a plan to hand over British sovereign territory and pay £35 billion for the privilege that Labour loves so much? What is it about that plan? That is £35 billion that we could be using to fund our defence instead. Who seriously thinks this is a good idea? It is disgraceful. Thank you, Victoria. It is extremely disgraceful. So nobody thinks it's a good idea. Nobody thinks it's a good idea. It's because it is a terrible idea. And it's not just funding for defence that we care about. How about the treatment of our soldiers? The Conservative Party supports our brave veterans. Unlike Labour, we don't want to see them hounded unfairly through the courts. That's why we will continue fighting the Northern Ireland Troubles Bill at every stage. Conservatives want Britain to have a strong economy because we know that economic security is national security. Britain is being crushed under the highest tax burden since the Second World War. Common sense would cut that tax burden, not double down on the £60 billion of tax rises inflicted by Rachel Reeves on the public in just 2 years. Tax rises that have obliterated jobs and growth and made it even harder for us to fund our defence. Has Andy Burnham's team got any common sense? No. I haven't seen any sight of it yet. It doesn't seem like you have either. Because they are briefing the papers about raising capital gains tax and creating a new land value tax, a tax that would take more money from millions of people already struggling to get by. Andy Burnham's big idea is to tax the South to fund the North. It is robbing Peter to pay Paul. We want to look after everyone. Burnham says there is room for movement on tax. I have no idea where he sees this room for movement, but it is not in the real world. Britain is in the middle of a World Cup summer. There is another heat wave on. People are having fun, watching the football and going to the pub, and quite right too. We should be able to enjoy ourselves. We should be. But we should be able to enjoy ourselves safe in the knowledge that our national security is being taken care of by the government. But it isn't. Burnham wants a summer holiday. Farage is in hiding. Starmer is retiring. Right at the time, yes, I know, it is good. It is good that he's retiring. Thanks, Andrew, for reminding me of that. He is retiring, but all of this is happening right at the time when difficult decisions need to be made. Silly season is not for the people running the country. Britain needs some grown-ups in the room, but there don't appear to be any outside the Conservative Party. No one else seems to want to do the hard work of government. No one else wants to make the tough choices this country needs. Well, luckily, we do want to do that work, and we do want to take those choices. Conservatives are a government in waiting, and we are ready to make the difficult decisions to keep our country safe. We are the only serious party in British politics right now, with a team and a plan to restore national security as the first priority of government. So I say to you, we will cut welfare and fund defence. We will restore common sense. We will get Britain working again, and we will unite our country. Thank you, ladies. And now, unlike other party leaders, I'm going to take some questions from the media. Can we start with Carl Dinnan from ITV?
Thanks very much. Carl Dinnan from ITV News. To get to 3.5% of GDP on defence spending, which is what NATO wants by 2035, you're going to need an extra 22 billion quid or so just in today's money. Is all of that going to come from welfare cuts? And can you just outline what you would cut to get that amount of money?
So we have said that we need to get to 3% by the end of this Parliament. 3.5% is the ambition. That's what Keir Starmer has said to NATO. He's going to NATO today with absolutely no plan whatsoever to get to 3.5%, and even a black hole on what he has laid out in the Defence Investment Plan. So we have started explaining where we will get the money from. We've said that we will replace the two-child benefit cap. We have said that we will have a sovereign defence fund, repurpose Ed Miliband's net zero funding, the money that he's wasted, put that into a sovereign defence fund. That gets to between 11 to 50 billion pounds. It's not all public money. Some of this will come from crowding in private sector investment. That's what he's doing now. We cannot assume that all of this can come from cuts on welfare. You're absolutely right. But if you look at what Labour is doing, this Chagos deal, for example, that's 35 billion pounds, 400 million pounds just in this financial year alone. That is not serious. That is not serious. That's money that we have said could be used to upgrade our frigates. Those were plans which we left in place when we left office in 2024. Labour paused all our plans, started a strategic defence review, and is now failing to fund their strategic defence review. We haven't found the money to 3.5%, but there is no other party that has found as much money as the Conservatives, and we're continuing to do the work to make sure that we find more so that we can keep our country safe. Alex Rogers from Sky News, please.
Morning, Kemi. There have been reports that Donald Trump may criticise the UK and other nations for not spending enough on defence. Would a public intervention like this from the US president be helpful, or should such criticism be made behind closed doors? And another, if I may, do you think Nigel Farage should face another investigation by the Standards Commissioner for gifts he allegedly received from George Cotterill before he was made an MP?
So on President Trump, he's already been criticising publicly, and as it happens, previous presidents did that as well. The funding for NATO, or rather I should say the underfunding for NATO defence spending, is something that America's presidents have said repeatedly over the years. What is unique about Donald Trump is the way he says it, but the points that he has made is not one that is new. I think that his belligerence on this issue has been one of the reasons why countries like Germany have increased their spending to 3.7%. Poland is spending about 4.8%. They've made these increases in the last two years, as far as I can see. What have we been doing in that period of time? We have been paying for more welfare. I think we need to get our act together and stop complaining about how President Trump is speaking about us and the hurty words. Of course, I would prefer if he made those comments in private, but the priority right now should be in finding the funding, not complaining about the criticism. And it's not for me to decide whether or not the Standards Commissioner should investigate. I don't comment on those matters. They are independent. I shouldn't be influencing. But I do think that what we are seeing right now is the sort of chaos which we would see under a Farage government. I'm working very, very hard to make sure that we don't have a reform government. Our win in Aberdeen South showed that when Conservatives have a good economic plan, we can beat reform. And I think the thing that's really surprised me most was what he said. It was on Sky News that he saw this, where he was being asked questions and then talked about Leveson. So he's hinting at press regulation. For all of the criticism and the attacks, and I would even say abuse that I've got from the press, I've never once recommended us curbing our free press. I think this is one of the amazing things about this country. And I would be very worried about a reform government using government power to control the press. I don't think that that would be absolutely right. I'm surprised that he mentioned Leveson. That is not what Conservative policy is. Chris Hope, GB News.
Thank you, Kemi Badenoch. You said there that no one wants to make the tough choices the country needs, but you didn't make them in 14 years in power. You didn't cut, your government didn't cut the welfare budget. I know you weren't in charge, but you were a cabinet minister. Why should voters trust you on this? And can I ask you about student loans? Students, young people, were missold £200 billion of student loans, most of it on your watch as a government. It's an outrage. Why won't you wipe that slate clean?
Okay, so tough decisions. You said I had 14 years. I didn't have 14 years. I only got there 7 years ago. And I wasn't in government all that time. And certainly, last time I checked, I wasn't the Prime Minister during those periods. But what I am showing is what the Conservative Party under my leadership would do. And it's not true that we didn't cut welfare. I remember Ian Duncan Smith actually making some very significant welfare cuts. It was very tough, and we did it because it was the right thing to do. And if we hadn't made those tough decisions, we would not have been able to support the country during COVID, which is when welfare spending went up again. And that's because a lot of people lost their jobs. We paid people to stay at home. We looked after the economy so we could do those tough things. We're the only party that can do that can look after the economy in this way again. You know, Chris, I hope you've seen my 5-point economic plan. We're bringing an economic revolution that will set business free so that it can create that growth. And on student loans, the decisions that were made on student loans were right for that time, 2012, 5 years before I became an MP. They're not right for 2026. I am the leader of the Conservative Party now. I'm making policy positions for now, not for 20 years ago. And that means doing what is right for students. That is why I have said that the amount that they are paying on their loans is abhorrent. It is not fair. Many of them are coming out with £60,000, £70,000 of debt and they can't get jobs. We need to make sure that they have jobs. Keir Starmer has been killing those jobs. We have a graduate recruitment crisis. Unemployment has increased every single month since Labour came into office. Andy Burnham does not have a plan to fix that. We do. We are going to sort out Plan 2 student loans in particular. I've said that we're going to make sure they're not paying so much over inflation. We have found the money to do that as well, some of it coming from other bits of the education budget that are not performing and not delivering for those students. I want everyone to know that we have a plan. We have been doing the hard work. We have been thinking, and that's why I'm able to answer questions like that this morning. Thank you.
That's the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, there speaking in central London, talking all things defence and why the Labour Party's got it so wrong, but then also admitting that taking some money out of welfare wouldn't be enough to fix the problem and that she doesn't know where else she's going to get the money from. She's called Westminster's attempt to fund defence a pantomime, saying Labour's plans are not fit for purpose, saying that we need to do something about it because there's a £5 billion black hole left in the defence spending plan.
Oh, I think it's a bigger black hole, actually. I think it's near 15 billion. I thought the speech was really underwhelming. We've got our panel with us, Piers Pottinger and Kevin Maguire, my podcast partner. Did you think it was underwhelming?
Yes. I'm afraid. I mean, I thought she was doing better, but she seems to be going backwards now. She holds these events every week. I went to the last one last week, and it was dreadful. Started late. She only spoke for a short time, hadn't anything really very interesting to say, except make the kind of points she makes at PMQs, which Prime Minister's Question Time. And I'm afraid to say, whoever is managing her isn't doing a good job. It's not got any impact. It hasn't got any oomph. You know, you need someone like a Lee Anderson to start talking straight, making some hard-hitting points, instead of this rather bland, easy attack on a Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, who's gone, who's finished. Goodness knows why. I think it's absolutely outrageous he's gone to this NATO meeting. They're going to take no notice of him, quite rightly. He's a busted flush. He should not be there. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. And she is right about defence, of course. We all know that. Defence is a complete mess. The Labour Party have really, really made a mess of it. Their own George Robertson, who did the Strategic Defence Review, former head of NATO, former Labour Secretary of State for Defence, made a very, very good report, produced a superb report with a lot of points which they have ignored. And it's disgraceful. And for that reason alone, failing to defend the realm, failing to defend this country is an appalling dereliction of duty by this government. And it's a good job Starmer's going.
And Kevin, look, I mean, I think she's on the wrong subject today. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, I mean, there's no doubt John Healey, in his resignation letter as Defence Secretary, made the devastating charge. He effectively said the defence investment plan was leaving Britain unprotected.
Yeah, because he's lobbying for more cash.
But he was gone. He was going. Look, he'd gone out of frustration that he was getting nowhere with his Prime Minister.
The UK Labour government is spending more than the Conservatives were spending when Kemi Badenoch was in the government. We are spending the world's 6th largest amount in cash. We're towards the top of the pack in NATO as a share of GDP.
We're going down fast.
And as you know, Al Khan's the Defence Minister, Colonel Al Khan, served in Afghanistan, everything. He said there is unbelievable waste, unbelievable waste in the Ministry of Defence. So why throw good money after bad? What you need to do is get a better, bigger bang for your bucks than wasting more bucks. But if you look at it, look at those chinless wonders standing around Kemi Badenoch. If they are her frontline troops, she hasn't got a chance. I thought
it's down to
central casting.
I mean, that's it. Central office. I mean, communication teams behind her. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but they're failing totally.
I mean, they must have a day off school or something.
The image is pathetic.
Don't knock the fact we've got young people involved in politics.
It looks like something out of a sitcom.
But can I
quite frankly, it really does.
Can I move the conversation on? I think Kemi Badenoch's missed a real trick here, because later today the Conservatives have cleverly engineered an Opposition Day debate. They call what it is, and this is to say that under Labour's early release of prisoners scheme, which I don't agree with, sex offenders should be excluded. Now, that's a very pressing issue for Andy Burnham, because aides of Andy Burnham indicated last week he doesn't agree that sex offenders should be released early. Why didn't she go on that take? Because that's a massive issue, because Labour are going to have to vote against what the Tories do today. And what will Burnham do? He'll have to absent himself from the vote. Failure of leadership.
Well, he'll be in Manchester, won't he? Of course. And by the way, Andy Burnham, you know, he boasts this terrific record. And let me give you one very interesting statistic. When he became mayor of Manchester, there were 3,011 homeless people registered. At the end of 2025, he, by the way, promised to eradicate homelessness. At the end of 2025 in Manchester, there were 9,859.
So it tripled.
He more than trebled the homelessness. He boasts about the buses. And yes, the buses are wonderful. The reason they are running at a complete and total loss, and they're subsidised by everyone in this country. The British taxpayer has put £80 million into his buses. No wonder they're working well, and he should be thanking the rest of us taxpayers for him to look smart.
Well, I say good luck to the politician who campaigns on putting up bus fares around the country. During that period, the homelessness rise, the Conservatives were in power. It's risen in many places. I don't think you can blame him for that. But I agree.
No, he said
attacking, but I agree. Exempting rapists and paedophiles from early release. No, and it will make They've inherited a full prison system, so they're having to make terrible choices. Yeah. But I'm afraid you cannot release... If you exclude murderers, which they do, why do you allow rapists and paedophiles out?
What does it say to the
it's terrible. You will have to let somebody else out who probably deserves to be locked up. Yeah. But they aren't paedophiles and
what
rapists.
Is Burnham to do? He can't possibly vote with the Conservatives. His aides told us last week he does not agree with this part of Labour's policy, and he might reverse it. Is he going to vote with the Conservatives?
Well, he should do if he had any...
Mysteriously in Manchester.
If he had any real bottle, he would vote with the Conservatives.
No.
Because this is not a political issue.
You know what
what
you vote for... What you vote for is a plan. And if you're saying you're not letting these people out, however many they are, you've got to think, well, who will you let out instead? That would be the sensible, grown-up thing to do.
What will he do? What's he going to do today?
I would have thought... I would have thought, because he's not yet Prime Minister, he'll probably skip the vote. And then you become fully accountable.
Listening to
20th of July, Monday, 20th of July.
If he skips the vote, Bethany, what sort of leadership is that?
Well, I don't think it is very good leadership because, as Piers said, this isn't a political issue. No. This is an issue for thousands or tens of thousands of survivors who've been abused while they're children. The Ministry of Justice has written to 7,300 victims, warning them that the offender who targeted them could qualify for this early release. It's not about voting with the Tories. It's not about abstaining. It's about doing right by these victims.
But you say, you're not going to release them, right? There's people coming through the courts. You've got to fit into prison all the time, and there aren't the places and let other people out. So who are you going to let out? I mean, it's a terrible choice, but you shouldn't be letting out paedophiles and rips. It's probably thieves, people for other offences. I don't like them being released, but that's why you'd vote against it. You vote for a plan.
Because the police don't arrest thieves anymore.
This is what she should have spoke about this morning. She should pose the question, what will Andy Burnham do when we force a vote on this today? Will he cut
direct challenge.
That's what she should have done.
If as he says, he is putting the country first, which is something, incidentally, they all say never do, it would be very good if he actually did come to the House, which would be quite a good thing anyway, in my view, and actually do that and have the courage to vote the right way, because we all know this motion makes sense.
Well, and it would show that he's doing politics a different way, Kevin.
It only makes sense when you show which people you would let out instead of them. Otherwise,
anybody but sex offenders and murderers.
I wouldn't allow sex offenders and rapists out. No, not early, not at all. I've never understood why people automatically get half or a bit more off their sentence. No. Good behaviour, showing you reformed, you've taken whatever lessons on board. Yes, I can understand that, but it should be earned early release, not just given to you.
The trouble is there aren't enough thieves and burglars in prison to let out.
No, they're all nicking from my local M&S.
Yeah, and shoplifters.
Actually, the prisons are full of people with...
Did you tweet about that just the other day?
I did. I just watched a bloke but I was queuing to pay for my shopping, just lift up a case of cider and walk out the Tesco.
Shocking, isn't it?
And of course, the woman behind the counter didn't see what was going on, or didn't want to see going on, and I wouldn't have blamed her. If you're on the minimum wage or just over, why tackle this bloke? But I did notice it was 10 cans of cider
It's an epidemic.
he took. He couldn't say he was stealing food to eat or nappies for a baby.
All right, Piers, Kevin, thank you both very much. We'll speak to you later on in the programme, but first, here's your 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Bethany, thank you. The top stories this hour. The Duke of Sussex is set to discover the result of his High Court case against the Daily Mail's publisher as he returns to the UK. Harry arrived in the UK late last night and will be in the country when the judgment is published this afternoon. After an 11-week trial earlier this year in his claim against Associated Newspapers Limited over alleged unlawful information gathering, A&L strongly denies the claims and defended the case. Sir Keir Starmer's heading into what could be a difficult NATO summit after the US warned allies they're not spending enough on defence. Officials pointed to a £15 billion boost to defence spending in last week's defence investment plan, saying Sir Keir Starmer would use the summit to demonstrate how we're turning these pledges into action. The prison's watchdog says it'll keep a close eye on criminals released early from jail under a government scheme amid concerns that rapists could be among them. And the UK has entered its third heatwave so far this year, with temperatures predicted to climb as high as 35 degrees in some parts of the country later this week. Those are the latest headlines, more at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Tatiana, thank you. Up next on the programme, should schools cancel sports days amid Britain's third heat wave this year? This is on Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Morning, sunny and pretty hot for most places across the south today. Further north, again, quite a bit of cloud, some rain across northern Scotland this morning. It'll slowly be easing down and the warmth is going to become more widespread over the next few days. But certainly today, quite a contrast, hot and sunny across the south. Further north you go, the thicker the cloud. Quite a wet start for parts of Northern Ireland and western Scotland. The rain on and off across the Highlands and the Western Isles for most of the day. But elsewhere, I think we'll see the rain petering out, turning a bit brighter over northern England and southern Scotland. In the south, plenty of sunshine, and in the southeast in particular, the top temperatures 31, maybe even up to 32 degrees Celsius, whereas it is much cooler, much more comfortable, if you like, further north and west, where there'll continue to be some showery rain into this evening. But further south, a beautiful evening by and large. Light winds, could be a bit misty and murky through the day today along parts of the North Devon and North Cornwall coast in particular, and certainly the coast of northwest England staying predominantly cloudy. Should brighten up by the end of the day across Northern Ireland after a bit of a damp start this morning. Further light rain edging its way into western Scotland throughout the day. Some sunny spells developing, perhaps to end the day over eastern Scotland. As we go through the evening and overnight, not a great deal of change. Most places staying dry, long clear spells, but the warm air is in place, so temperatures are going to struggle to drop too far away. We're likely to stay in the mid or even high teens across urban areas in the south, so a pretty warm and comfortable night. Not quite as humid this hot spell this week as it was a couple of weeks ago, but nevertheless temperatures will soon rise again tomorrow with lots of sunshine. If anything, a warmer day over northern England, Northern Ireland and eastern Scotland, drier day in western Scotland. The odd shower still possible, staying quite cloudy here, but elsewhere plenty of sunshine and temperatures, as I say, starting to rise. Again, the peak of the temperatures across the south, where we'll be widely into the low 30s again.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M60 anti-clockwise is closed between junctions 24 and 23 near Stockport. The A610 eastbound is closed after the M1 junction 26 near Nottingham. There is an obstruction on the M6 northbound near Birmingham and lane closures on the M6 northbound near Coventry. The M42 northbound lane is closed at junction 6 near Solihull due to bridge works. North of the border, the A75 eastbound exit slip at Gretna is closed. And on the trains, there is major disruption on cross-country and southwestern railway services between Bournemouth and Brockenhurst. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. It's 10:37. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and me, Bethany Elsey.
Well, we're already in it, aren't we? The third heat wave of the summer, and already schools are calling off their sports days in case of extreme temperatures for the poor darlings.
Well, southeastern England has now officially met the heat wave criteria, with temperatures already reaching 28 degrees. I think that's 3 days in a row now.
Right. So a week-long warning over higher temperatures in places of parts of the UK because of a greater risk to life of vulnerable people.
Well, we're joined now by Christine Cunliffe, who's a head teacher at LVS Ascot. Christine, what do we think about cancelling sports days? Do you think our children just need a little bit more resilience, or is it far more serious than that?
I think it depends where your school is and what the local conditions are like, because some schools have got lots of shade, they've got gazebos, they can keep the kids cool. Other schools probably have to travel to a venue. It could mean hours outside in the direct sunshine, and I think you just have to take that health and safety into consideration. I'm of the generation where you were out there, rain or shine, and you suffered. I remember suffering hugely with hay fever and getting sunburnt, but these days we're a little bit more wary of the dangers of the sun.
But because of that, Christine, I'm old enough. I was at school during the long hot summer of 1976, and I can tell you it was a Catholic comprehensive. They did not even open up the school hall to let us go in and shelter from the sun. We just had to get on with it, and we did get on with it. But we all went to school with some sun cream on, and we're much more aware now with factor 50 and all the rest of it. And if you put a hat on, sunglasses, sunblock, why can't you do your sports day?
I totally agree with you. You know, I remember that summer myself, and I remember being out in that baking sunshine and having a really great time as well in the sun. Yeah. I think today we live in a different society today. So, you know if something goes wrong, somebody's going to be to blame, and there's going to be trouble. Plus, there are children that are going to genuinely fall ill from sunstroke, or, if you've got hay fever and things like that, it's unbearable. So I think each school has to be really sensible. Just look at the local conditions, risk assess it, and see what can be done. But I wouldn't be shutting off sports days at a whim. These are the highlights of the school year. It's healthy for the children. This is where memories are made. And this is why me and you remember the summer of 1976.
Yeah, you say memories are made. I've got brilliant memories and also photographs of me and my siblings doing sports days at school. But I don't even remember the temperature. I mean, are kids too young to even take notice? Or like I said before, is it actually far more serious?
I think a lot of this goes over children's heads. I mean, my office looks over a field where we've got summer school in now, and the kids are running around, and it's really hot out there. They seem to be completely oblivious to it. The sprinklers will come on a bit later, and they'll be having fun in the sprinklers. But you see, children do run around. They're not really aware of what can happen if you're running around too much in the heat. You have to tell them what to do. Go in the shade, sit down, keep quiet for a while, please. Let's cool our bodies down. So they are a bit oblivious, but kids do become ill. And we have to safeguard against that.
I suppose instead of, cancelling the sports days, you could just essentially move around the time. Because I know the Met Office was saying the worst time of day is around midday or the early afternoon. So maybe sports days, instead of being cancelled, could just be moved to
9:30.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, Christine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an absolute brilliant, and some schools do that. We had a function before a sports event, which we put in the morning. Everyone comes in that little bit earlier. It's still nice and crisp. You're done before midday when the sun is really hot, and we go from there. So there is a way around it. I think school shouldn't be reactionary. It's got to be the right decision for the pupils.
Because the worry is, Christine, that we're just mollycoddling kids too much now. We want them outside as often as possible, playing outside. We know that they spend far too much time on their devices. They get home, the kids are even brothers and sisters texting each other in the same house, which is why the sports day is an annual celebration of keeping fit and looking after yourself.
It is, and I think, parents actually are the first to complain if you cancel sports days as well. They'll ask, why is the school doing this? What has informed your decision making? So, but some schools are worried of the backlash should something happen. So, there's a bit of give and take there. But I believe in getting outside as much as you can, and as you say, build these memories. You're with your mates at the end of the year, and it's fabulous.
And do parents still come along and cheer on the kids at sports days, Christine, if they're not working?
Well, they do in the schools that I oversee, and they're out there in full force, and they're cheering, and the parents' race as well. That's
of course they do.
So you still have the mum's race and the dad's race?
Yes.
Yeah, and they don't seem to be bothered about the sun. They're just seeing the finishing line.
I can still see my mum running in the school. Yeah, she came second. I was so proud of her. So proud.
Did she get a medal?
No, only the winner got a medal. It was Anne Mapson's mum won. She beat my mum. How do I remember that from all those years ago when I was aged 8 or 9? Did your mum run in the race, Christine, at school?
No, my mum had to work, from a family where my mum and dad had to both work, so quite often they missed out on school events. And I did sort of look envious at those that had the parents there, because I thought it was really cool. But I don't think my mum was either of the shape or the physical ability to be able to do that. And I can say that because she passed away 10 years ago.
What a diplomatic way to put it, Christine. What a very diplomatic way to put it. My mum worked too, but somehow she managed to fit it in because she used to work till 1 and then she'd have 3 hours off, then she'd go back into the office in the afternoon. But Christine, have you had your sports day already this year?
Yeah, we did, and it was great. And there's full of house spirit. It's all about that healthy competition, cheering each other on, and forging those good times.
Absolutely, Christine. It's always a joy to talk to you. That's Christine Cunniff, who's head teacher at LVS Ascot.
All right, it's time for the Great British Giveaway now, and your chance to enjoy a golden year with a real gold bar worth over £5,000 and 60k in cash. Here's all the details.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. You could spend it on treats, splash out on the family, or just save it for a rainy day. It's entirely up to you. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. That's genuine gold that you could gift to a loved one or just lock up in your own personal vault. The gold and the cash really could be yours. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Up next, Prince Harry has touched down in the UK, but has the King finally lost patience with his son?
First, though, if you want some elusive holiday sun, got quite a lot here, haven't we, at the moment? Here's the forecast for some of those European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Pretty much wall-to-wall strong sunshine across the Mediterranean for this week. Very hot too in Spain and Portugal. That heat slowly easing. Pretty warm too in the Canaries. Light winds, lots of blue sky for Spain, Portugal, for Mallorca as well, and most of Italy. Small chance of 1 or 2 showers across the east. The odd shower inland across Greece as well. But most of the Greek islands dry and sunny. Plenty more blue sky to come through the rest of this week. Temperatures easing a touch in Spain.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
And it's Father's Day. I don't know if my dad's up yet.
If you are, happy Father's Day.
He's already texted.
Is he?
He's tuning in.
Mr. Reaper, good morning to you.
Sunday, well, speaking of Sunday lunches, he'll be having a roast pork joint later, courtesy of myself.
Good.
Cards and gifts are a big part of the day, of course, but it's also important to remember that there is more to it than that.
Yeah, because it's not just about one day, is it? Actually, it's like, what do dads do? And healthy fathers, a healthy sort of father-son, father-daughter relationship builds strong families, builds strong communities and helps build a strong country, actually.
Well, that is why mentoring the next generation matters more than ever. So take a little extra time today, make sure you do, to appreciate not just the fathers or the grandfathers or the uncles out there, but any strong father figure that you may have.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Welcome back to Breakfast, 25 minutes past 6. And breaking news this morning, the TV presenter Jeremy Clarkson has revealed that he's been diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer in an emotional video.
In the scenes, he's telling his co-stars Caleb Cooper and Charlie Ireland, his land agent and his farm manager, and they're both devastated, as you can imagine. You know, it's a huge bombshell to drop on them. He's only 66. He's made no secrets that he's maybe not lived the healthiest lifestyle. After the heart problems, he bemoans having to eat Greek yogurt and kale and whatnot. But following this, I think he's going to have a complete lifestyle overhaul even further, and just fingers crossed the treatment proves effective.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Hello there, Emily and Tom. Yes, some breaking news in the last few moments from Kensington Palace regarding our future king, Prince George of Wales, the oldest son of the Prince and Princess of Wales. The short statement from Kensington Palace reads, Kensington Palace can confirm that Prince George will attend Eton College in September. That news just coming in from the royal household in the last few moments. This clearly is, well, perhaps not surprising news for those in royal circles. Eton College, the most prestigious school, arguably in the country, educating 20 prime ministers and, of course, Prince George's own father and uncle, Prince William and Prince Harry, as well as 2 Dukes of Gloucester, the Duke of Kent and Prince Michael of Kent as well. So that confirmation just coming in from Kensington Palace, £63,000 a year it costs to send a child to Eton College.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's 10 to 11. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. The Duke of Sussex has touched down on British soil but will not stay at Buckingham Palace during his visit to the UK this week. That's despite his team saying he'd accepted an offer to do so.
Oh, it's such a psychodrama, isn't it? It always is. Now, this is YouGov has revealed 48% of Britons think Prince Harry should have stayed at Buckingham Palace. Well, he had a chance, but he missed it. He did it. The person who knows all about this is our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, who joins us now from Buckingham Palace, which does not have the Prince or his entourage staying with him in the palace. Cameron, what went wrong?
No, Andrew. Well, a complete circus is what it turned into yesterday. Of course, Prince Harry's spokesperson told us yesterday morning, exclusively with GB News, that Prince Harry would be staying there. Then the palace comes back to us after we checked with them, obviously, and saying, no, that's simply not the case. Prince Harry had formally declined the offer on Saturday morning and then subsequently changed his mind, but by which point it was too late, because clearly to stay in that building, there's a lot of logistics that needs to be sorted first, such as staffing rosters and hospitality things, so food and drink and all the rest of it. It's not as simple as you or I. You'd ring up a family member and say, oh, can I pop around for a tea? With the royal family, it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So Prince Harry stayed elsewhere. Today, his focus very much on the Invictus Games Foundation conference at Chatham House. That's supporting injured veterans and sick serving personnel in a Paralympic-style competition. 1-year countdown to Birmingham, of course. But the other elephant even in the room is this court case against Associated Newspapers Limited, the publisher of the Mail and the Mail on Sunday. Harry, one of the joint claimants, including Sir Elton John, Baroness Lawrence, and Liz Hurley as well, and a few others, jointly suing the Mail publisher over alleged unlawful information gathering. The Mail has strongly denied those allegations and was prepared actually to put a number of their journalists up in court to defend the integrity of their journalism and their sourcing. Nonetheless, at 2 o'clock today, that judgment will be handed down from the High Court. Prince Harry alleges 14 articles written between 2001 and 2013 were written as a result of unlawful information gathering, including phone hacking. As I said, Associated has always denied that, saying they have provided a compelling account of a pattern of legitimate sourcing of articles. Friends saying that Prince Harry had a leaky social circle and, of course, press officers and palace officials giving information to those journalists. They also say that Prince Harry simply brought this case far too late. These articles are very historic, more than 10 years old at the very least. Now, Harry says he didn't bring it at the time because, being part of an institution behind me as a working member of the royal family, he wasn't allowed. Of course, remember that motto, never complain, never explain. Well, I think that motto died a death with Prince Harry in 2020 when he stood back as a working member of the royal family. He's been on a personal crusade since then, really trying to take on the British tabloids, he says, to support and seek justice for all of those people who he sees as victims of tabloid intrusion, who cannot afford to bring them to court. That's what Prince Harry says he's doing. He also alleges that the Daily Mail has punished him with bad coverage because he was prepared to take them to task. The Daily Mail, of course, defending the integrity of their journalism, and as I said, were prepared to put several members of their journalistic team up in court to defend that fact. Nonetheless, that ruling expected at 2 o'clock today. The Mail have always consistently denied allegations of phone hacking.
Cameron, that's Cameron Walker, our royal correspondent at Buckingham Palace. I have to declare an interest, of course, as you probably know. I am a journalist on the Daily Mail. We will hear at 2 o'clock. I had no prior knowledge as to the verdict. But I think Harry, he's just made a mess of this, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He thought there was going to be a potential reunion with his father, who's got cancer. The wife and children were potentially going to come too. He got into complete lies about would he or wouldn't he stay at Buckingham Palace, which isn't occupied at the moment. It's a building site. There's massive renovation work going on there. And I just think he's, as ever, made a complete mess of it. The Telegraph on the front page today, their front page headline saying the King lost patience with his son, the prodigal son.
Yeah, I think it's a real shame, as you say, because there were reports over the last couple of weeks that he was going to bring Archie and Lilibet to meet the King, who, as you say, isn't very well.
Got cancer.
They were going to visit Princess Diana's grave ahead of her 65th anniversary, or what would have been her 65th birthday.
It's a mess. Anyway, that's all coming up. More on that coming up in the programme. We're going to go now to the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A hot, sunny one again across the south today. Further north, quite a bit of cloud and some rain, particularly in northern and western Scotland. That'll slowly ease through the day, but damp and drizzly over the Highlands and some of that patchy rain getting into southwest Scotland. A little bit of light rain and drizzle possible on the north coast of Northern Ireland too. The odd light shower over northeast England. It is generally cloudy across the north, plenty of sunshine further south, although some patchy cloud across parts of eastern England. Keeping the temperatures maybe a degree or so down on yesterday's, but we could still get 32, 33 Celsius across the southeast. Hot and sunny in the south. It is obviously not as hot further north where we've got more cloud. And still some outbreaks of rain coming into the Highlands and the Western Isles on and off into the evening, spreading at times into the Northern Isles as well, but should tend to ease as we go through the night. Northern Ireland seeing some breaks in the clouds, so some humid evening sunshine to enjoy across parts of the east of Northern Ireland. Northeast England also brightening up a touch. And further south, misty conditions around some of the coasts in the southwest in particular, but generally the coast is the place to be if you don't like the heat, as temperatures a bit more comfortable here with some sea breezes developing. We'll keep some outbreaks of rain going into the Highlands and the Northern Isles through the night, but otherwise it becomes largely dry nights, long clear spells. Again, might turn a bit misty around some coasts, and quite a warm one across the southeast. Temperatures in the capital may hold up at 19 degrees degrees Celsius. Elsewhere down to 15 or 16 degrees to start Wednesday. And again, we have a sunny day across the south, a hot day here, a bit more in the way of sunshine further north as well. The cloud not as thick across Northern Ireland, eastern parts of Scotland, northeast England, seeing some longer spells of sunshine tomorrow, and as a result it'll be hotter as well. Temperatures up into the mid-20s across southern Scotland and Northern Ireland, again into the low 30s once more in the strong sunshine across the south. Goodbye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things up the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time. But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
It's 11 o'clock on Tuesday, the 7th of July, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey.
Breaking news, Kemi Badenoch says Westminster has descended into pantomime when Britain needs seriousness over the future of its defence.
At a time when we need serious leadership, there is only one party acting with any common sense. There is only one party with a plan to keep Britain safe, and that is the Conservatives.
And the outgoing Prime Minister Keir Starmer bracing himself for a dust-up with Donald Trump at the NATO summit today. Trump will challenge the Prime Minister over what he regards as Britain's failure to spend enough on defence.
They can either be on the side of victims, including victims of some of the most horrendous crimes like rape and child grooming, or they can be on the side of the criminals that are going to be let out.
The Tories are calling on Labour to block sex offenders from the government's early prison release scheme. Rotherham abuse survivor Sarah Wilson spoke to GB News this morning.
It's not fair, you know, we've put our lives on the line to bring justice, to bring these men to justice, and we're having it chucked straight back in the faces.
Sarah Wilson speaking there, alongside also several other survivors who've written to MPs today, urging them to vote for this amendment, saying that they are frightened and exhausted. They thought they had time to prepare and recover while their offenders were behind bars, but they could be released early.
And Prince Harry is in Britain, but we're asking, has the King lost patience with his prodigal son? Cameron Walker.
Well, a complete day of chaos here at Buckingham Palace yesterday as Prince Harry fought over where he was staying. He stayed privately in London last night, but of course later on he is going to be at the Invictus Games countdown, but also of course the elephant in the room, that trial against the Daily Mail publisher. More detailed shortly.
I love that chat about school sports day, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. As you can see, look, lovely weather behind Karen at Buckingham Palace there. There is, of course, a heatwave this week. There is talk about potentially cancelling school sports days, but the head teacher we spoke to said it should only be on a means-tested basis.
Yeah, you like school sports days.
Absolutely love it. When I was in primary school, I was greenhouse captain.
Oh.
It was honestly the best time ever. I was so young, so I can't believe I can remember it. And I'm dying to get involved in my daughter's school sports days when she eventually starts next summer.
You're going to do the mother's race.
12 months to prepare for that.
Hey.
I'm so competitive.
Get in training, make sure you win.
Oh, well, let us know what you think. Are you getting involved in your kids' sports days? Are you looking forward to it? And were you in charge of your sports teams in school? Let us know by visiting
GBNews.com/your say. But first, here's the headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much. The top stories at 11 o'clock. The Duke of Sussex will begin a week of engagements, having returned to the UK. He'll also find out the result of a court case that the Prince and others brought against the publishers of the Daily Mail with claims of unlawful information gathering. A&L strongly denies the claims and defended the case. It comes as Harry's accommodation arrangements for his UK visit descended into chaos ahead of 5 days of appearances in London and Birmingham. The Duke will not stay at Buckingham Palace during his return, with a spokesman saying it was disappointing the offer from the King had been withdrawn at the last moment, with the looming judgment given as the reason. Kemi Badenoch says silly season is not for the people running the country as she hit out at her political rivals. Speaking during a rally in central London where she spoke about defence funding, Ms Badenoch said Andy Burnham wants a summer holiday, Farage is in hiding and Starmer's retiring. Well, it's as the Prime Minister is heading into what could be a difficult NATO summit after the US warned allies they're not spending enough on defence. Officials pointed to a £15 billion boost to defence spending in last week's Defence Investment Plan, saying Starmer would use the summit to demonstrate how we're turning the pledges into action. In other news, the prisons watchdog says it'll keep a close eye on criminals released early from jail under a government scheme amid concerns that rapists could be among them. From September, part of the Sentencing Act 2026 will come into force, enabling some offenders to be freed earlier in a bid to reduce overcrowding. Reports suggest killers, rapists and sex offenders could be among up to 6,000 criminals released early in a few months' time. Shadow Justice Minister Kieran Mullen spoke to GB News.
We should have built more prisons during our time in office. We actually built more than 10,000, but a lot of them also went out of use. But this is a distraction from the government because, as I said, there are existing schemes that allow you to release prisoners in the short term in a crisis. What the government's actually doing is making a permanent change to our justice system to allow some of these worst offenders to get out of prison earlier. I don't think that's right, and I think they're deliberately confusing the public about the short-term challenge that we've got and the long-term changes they want to make, which I don't think the public would support, of letting out serious offenders like rapists and grooming gang perpetrators out of prison earlier.
The Ukrainian woman suspected of being behind the bomb attack in Monaco has been found dead near Kyiv after being shot, according to local media. The body of 39-year-old Anastasia Berezovska was reportedly discovered around 11 o'clock last night. There was no immediate official confirmation from the authorities. She's suspected of leaving a package in the entrance hall of an apartment building in June around 9 p.m. local time before fleeing the scene on foot
and then driving to Germany. A Ukrainian millionaire, his partner and his son were all seriously injured in the attack. The USA have been eliminated from the World Cup following a 4-1 defeat to Belgium. The contest had been dominated by the controversy surrounding US striker Folarin Balogun, who became eligible for selection and featured from the start after his red card ban was suspended by FIFA following intervention by Donald Trump.
It's one thing to penalise somebody for the game, but how do you penalise them for a game that hasn't been played yet? It's very unfair. You can't do that. So, yes, I asked for a review by FIFA.
But it came of no use as Belgium meets Spain next, who'd earlier eliminated Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal. Ronaldo told reporters that Spain enjoyed a bit of luck to score through substitute Merino in the dying moments of a match he felt could have swung either way. And Arthur Ferry has staged a second consecutive fight back to reach the quarter-finals at Wimbledon. He beat Grigor Dimitrov in 5 mammoth sets yesterday. Ferry is the first wild card and first player outside the top 100 since Nick Kyrgios in 2014 to reach the Wimbledon last 8 in the men's singles. Those are your headlines for now. More at 11:30.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Tatiana, thank you and welcome to Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK on GB News with Andrew Pearce and me, Bethany Elsey.
Well, the Prime Minister is heading to what is certainly his last NATO summit and possibly his most difficult after the US said to many of their allies they're lagging behind and have to step up spending on defence.
It follows the release of the government's defence investment plan last week, under which UK defence spending is set to rise to 2.7% of GDP by 2030, with a stated ambition of reaching 3% during the next Parliament.
Well, GB News Home Security Editor Mark White joins us now. Mark, very difficult this for the Prime Minister. I mean, it's his swan song, his farewell on the international stage, and he's almost certainly going to be sidelined, marginalised.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is that this is a Prime Minister that has no power at all. He's going there. As you say, this is his last hurrah on the international stage. He thinks that he's been a strong leader internationally, that he's led the way in terms of ensuring that Britain has a standing when it comes to the defence, not just of the realm, but of course the contribution that the UK makes to international security, particularly through NATO. But the fact is, you know, with the controversy over the resignation of the former Defence Secretary John Healey, Al Khan's the Armed Forces Minister, and the debacle over the arms investment plan, that investment in defence that took a year really to publish, there's been a lot of concern and criticism that the UK is not really reaching what it should do in defence spending. And we've gone way down the league table in terms of that GDP element. If you look at GDP of 2.69, which we will get to in the next year or two, that puts us down near the bottom now in terms of that sort of measurement of the growth of a country versus the amount of money they're putting in defences.
And the front page of the Telegraph today is saying that when he's there, the Prime Minister, he's going to push forward with this idea of a new European long-term missile, so we don't to end our reliance on the United States and that other European countries to support him. Who says that? Who says Andy Burnham wants to have his hands tied by that?
Well, this is the thing, and from what we have been led to believe, there hasn't been much in the way of detailed discussions, if any, between the incoming Burnham administration, as we expect it to be, and the current incumbents at number 10, obviously, who will be vacating the premises very soon indeed. So the whole situation is really up in the air. No one really knows. And then throw that into the mix, throw Donald Trump into the mix, and we know Donald Trump, wherever he goes, he likes to be a disruptive element. He's got all of this furore over did he fix the red card at the World Cup,
Honestly,
hanging over him as well. So it might be in his interest to, you know, in military terms, lob a few stun grenades into the NATO conference just to sort of deflect and bring attention to something new. And we know, of course, that, for instance, with the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, they've had a spectacular falling out over, again, the war in Iran, Italy's refusal to give the United States the use of its base in Sicily, and also comments that President Trump had made about the Pope. That led President Trump to complain or to suggest that Giorgia Meloni was desperate for a selfie, and she took the bait and responded in kind. The latest, of course, yesterday on his Truth Social platform that he loves to post out all of these provocative utterings on, he puts a poster up of Giorgia Meloni gazing at him longingly and says, a restraining order required. So, you know, you can imagine just what the, you know, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes.
We are never going to have a president like this ever again, are we?
No, I mean, it's great, you know, from a news perspective, and even those that report, for those that purport to hate Trump, you know, it's going to be a dull old presidency. Whoever comes next is just not going to be the same type of individual who's front and centre, takes so many questions on a daily basis. And as I say, the next big spectacle, obviously, is the next couple of days at NATO. Is he going to use that opportunity to really have a go at these European NATO countries, because he clearly thinks that many of them are still not doing enough. And even though some are saying, oh, we're going to go to 5% of our GDP in the next 5 to 10 years, as you know, we have committed to, there's a big smokescreen here, because what is it really? Is it military defence spending, or is it this nebulous concept of resilience, which of course can include the likes of the rail and roads infrastructure, energy, all of the above? That's not real-term spending on defence. So maybe Donald Trump will call them out on that. It's going to be really interesting. Maybe he'll take pity on Keir Starmer.
I doubt it. He's never done that before, has he? Mark White, thank you very much for joining us. OK, the prisons watchdog says it'll keep a close eye on criminals released early from jail under a government scheme amid concerns that rapists could be among them.
So from September, part of the Sentencing Act 2026 comes into force, which will enable some sex offenders to be freed early to try to reduce overcrowding.
Reports suggest killers, rapists and sex offenders could be among up to 6,000 criminals released early within the next few months. Well, GB News' national reporter Charlie Peters joins us now. Charlie, this seems bizarre and also really unsafe.
Yes, and the reason why we're discussing it is because there is a vote in Parliament today. It's opposition day in Parliament, and the Conservatives have brought forward an amendment to the Sentencing Act, which they say would stop the early release of sexual offenders. Later today, we'll be speaking to some grooming gang victims and also victims of wider sexual abuse who have received letters warning them that their abusers could be released. We've been speaking to some women on the channel for the last few weeks as these letters have been handed in, but we understand that many, many more have received these notes. And one woman I've been speaking to recently, and speaking to many times on the channel, Fiona Goddard, a victim from Bradford, she said, I thought I would have time to recover. Because prison works, OK? It works in terms of keeping offenders away from their victims. At the moment, with these changes that are coming in, we are anticipating those who are on 67% of their sentences need to be served behind bars being reduced to 50, those on 50 being reduced further down to perhaps 33%, those on 40% facing the same reduction. That has sparked a lot of concern. Well, earlier today, we spoke to Jake Richards, the sentencing minister, who said that the criminal justice system was at risk of unravelling, that he needed to make difficult decisions because of the situation he was in. But before we spoke to Jake Richards on GB News Breakfast, I was able to speak with Sarah Wilson and her solicitor, Amy Clowry. Now, Sarah is a victim from Rotherham. She has had letters about 2 of her perpetrators potentially being released. Here's what they said to me earlier today.
All of my clients are really scared for their own well-being and that of their families. Their mental health deteriorated. everybody that I've spoken to cannot believe that this Sentencing Act will release violent perpetrators such as sexual abuse offenders and the likes. So we're just asking everybody that's watching this programme to stand behind Sarah and the other survivors and to write to the MPs if possible.
The survivors was told that it wouldn't affect child abusers, groomers, and that they wouldn't fall under this new category. But unfortunately, they do. And it's not fair. You know, we've put our lives on the line to bring justice, to bring these men to justice, and we're having it chucked straight back in the faces.
Amy Clowry and Sarah Wilson speaking there very bravely about what she is going through at the moment. And unfortunately, Andrew and Bethany, she is one of thousands who we understand have received these letters. The big question, I think, that'll be answered this afternoon, beyond just how MPs will vote, is how will Andy Burnham vote in this? He is almost certainly going to be the next Prime Minister. His team did brief the Sunday Times over the weekend to say that he is opposed to the early release of sexual offenders. But it's one thing to brief a newspaper, it's another to use your power as a parliamentarian in the House of Commons to vote on this amendment. Will he join the Conservatives before he's the Prime Minister in pushing through this amendment? And if not, will he say today what he will do with the authority that he almost certainly will have in a sovereign parliament to change the law and force this issue? He's already said he's got concerns about Shabir Ahmed, the Rochdale grooming gang ringleader, who was also a welfare officer for Oldham Council, not facing deportation. He wants to change that law. Will he change this one as well? We've asked him. We'll wait to hear from him later.
My prediction, he'll avoid the vote by saying he's got business to do in Manchester.
We shall see.
Charlie, thank you very much for bringing us that really difficult story. OK, well, the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, has warned that silly season is not for people running the country, as she hit out at her political rivals.
GBNews political Christopher Hope, who was with the Tory leader, joins us now. Christopher, morning. She chose to go on the defence issue. Actually, I think she might have been more better advised to have gone on this very serious vote in the Commons later today about exempting sex offenders from the early release of prisoners, particularly as it puts Andy Burnham on the spot.
Yes. Morning, Bethany. Morning, Andrew. That's exactly what she said, didn't she? She said, let's see where Andy Burnham votes this afternoon. Of course, Andy Burnham preparing to be made Prime Minister 2 weeks yesterday in access talks right now with civil servants. She's here to talk about defence and cutting welfare, because the PM, of course, is on the way to the NATO summit, meeting Donald Trump there. She said in terms, we will cut welfare if we form the next government. However, some would say, why didn't you do that over the past 14 years when you were in power? In fact, that was a question I asked Kemi Badenoch, and here's what she said. Said there that no one wants to make the tough choices the country needs, but you didn't make them in 14 years in power. You didn't cut, your government didn't cut the welfare budget. I know you weren't in charge, but you were a cabinet minister. Why should voters trust you on this?
You said I had 14 years. I didn't have 14 years. I only got there 7 years ago. And I wasn't in government all that time. And certainly, last time I checked, I wasn't the Prime Minister during those periods. But what I am showing is what the Conservative Party under my leadership would do. And it's not true that we didn't cut welfare. I remember Ian Duncan Smith actually making some very significant welfare cuts. It was very tough, and we did it because it was the right thing to do. And if we hadn't made those tough decisions, we would not have been able to support the country during COVID, which is when welfare spending went up again.
No, I wasn't quite clear on that answer from Kemi Badenoch, because she's saying, in the one hand, judge me on me as an MP from 2017. On the other hand, she's saying, look what the Tories did under Ian Duncan Smith in 2013. You can't have your cake and eat it, in my view. However, we do have some area policy. They are firming up here for the Tory party. They are not going to cut the triple lock, of course, this guarantee of ever-increasing state pension. That is our policy, she said. Cutting the triple lock is not a growth policy. So she's saying the Tories will go go after this ballooning working people's working pensions budget. Whether that happens, we'll wait and see. She also had some remarks for Nigel Farage, of course, under fire over the £5 million gift from that friend of his, the crypto billionaire Christopher Harborne. She said, "No one I know gets £5 million as a gift," telling people it's none of their business, which is essentially what we're hearing most recently from Nigel Farage, certainly saying that she would rather questions weren't being asked about this, means that questions will continue to be asked. So I wonder whether we'll hear from more than Nigel Farage to respond to that. And also, just finally, on the issue of Andy Burnham, he will be made Prime Minister, we expect, a week on Monday, but by then Parliament will have broken up for its summer break. Now, the Tories are now calling for Andy Burnham to extend, or the government to extend Parliament and allow MPs to question the new Prime Minister. That's a new challenge from the Tory party. Andy Burnham, don't allow Parliament to break up for the summer break. Keep it going and let MPs ask you questions as the new Prime Minister.
Fascinating. That's a dilemma, isn't it? Christopher, thank you so much. That's Christopher Hope, our GB News political editor.
OK, it's time for the Great British Giveaway now, and your chance to enjoy a golden year with a real gold bar worth over £5,000 and 60 grand in cash. Here's all the details you need.
What would you do with £60,000 cash? What would you do with a real gold bar? Well, both have to be won in our Golden Summer celebration. First, there's £60,000 in tax-free cash to bolster your bank account this year. You can spend it on treats, splash out on the family, or just save it for a rainy day. It's entirely up to you. Plus, we'll also give you a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. That's genuine gold that you could gift to a loved one or just lock up in your own personal vault. The gold and the cash really could be yours. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Wouldn't that be nice, eh? Make sure you get in touch in order for your chance to win. OK, still to come on the programme, we'll be talking with Kevin Maguire and Piers Pottinger about Prince Harry and his visit to the UK and all of the on-off saga about where he's going to stay. That's up next on Britain's Newsroom.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 26 minutes past 11. This is Britain's Newsroom live across the UK with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey.
We've got our panel, Kevin Maguire, my co-podcast host, and Piers Potty. I want to say, Piers, congratulations, because today's a very special day for you and your lovely wife, Carolyn.
Yes, it is our 47th wedding anniversary.
Well done. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So, I think it's longer than any member of the royal family has been married.
Oh,
with the exception of the late Queen, of course.
Yes, I'm talking about the current ones.
Yes.
Because only one of Charles's 4 children, only one of the late Queen's 4 children has been married to the same person only for the same,
Prince Edward.
Prince Edward. All the others have had very difficult marital times.
And talking of royals, Kevin, your favourite subject, Kevin is an arch Republican.
I don't know why we bother having this family. It's like, do you remember Shameless? It's like Shameless with servants is what this is. I mean, they are Britain's weirdest family. They all hate each other. There's an ocean of bad blood between Charlie and his youngest son, Harry. I mean, it is crazy. When they make these Christmas broadcasts, oh, lovely time to be with the family and all that, then you look at them, they're a nest of vipers. I don't know why we fall for it. Why do we fall for it?
If we were a republic, we'd have to have a president.
Yes.
And that would probably be Anton Deck or something like that.
People vote for Anton Deck, they're going to have Anton Deck.
I mean, what we need, and also, no one's going to come and see their house.
No.
I mean, the tourism, the money that is generated by the royal family, the stature and the heritage of this, the positive heritage of this country, which too often is overlooked, is a good thing.
People go to Versailles and the French don't have a royal family. I'm not quite advocating their solution, but nevertheless.
Kevin, as we've seen, the King actually does have some weight. His US state visit actually went incredibly well, when our Prime Ministers couldn't do the same.
What do we get out of that, though? You got a bit of money off whiskey, and that was it. Well, that was it. And you go creeping up to a bloke who's abused our armed forces, declared economic war on us.
Are you talking about the Prime Minister?
The President, as you well know, Trump. And then you send somebody to suck up to him? Come on.
But, I mean, apart from Harry and Andrew, the others are OK. Really. And, I mean, Harry is a disaster, and unfortunately here at the moment. I wonder what's going to happen this afternoon when the Daily Mail case result comes out. I think, having followed the trial in the papers, at least, I would hope that it's going to come down against him and he'll look even more foolish than he already does.
I agree with that. But you see, apart from Harry and Andrew, Andrew was one of the 4 kids of the late Queen. Harry is half the kids of the current king. I mean, it's a high dropout rate.
Well, I mean,
lots of families have dropout rates.
Yeah, but come on, this lot. if they lived on a council estate rather than a royal estate, they'd have social services around all the time. I mean, they've had the police around for Andrew.
The Mall, for Trooping the Colour, I was there for GB News. We did a programme there. The Mall was rammed with people to see the spectacle, the pomp, the pageantry, which only Britain can do.
Nobody does it as well.
Royal
Ascot
is viewed by hundreds of millions of people around the world.
They want to see the King.
It's unique. Nowhere else in the world can you see the royal procession before thousands of people enjoying a wonderful day out in the
probably Thailand or one of the countries with monarchies.
People refer to the King around the world. They don't think the King of Holland. They don't think the King of Spain. They think King Charles III.
Most of the world,
the head of 15 realms.
Most of the world live in republican countries, and none of them are going to be clamouring for a Nepo baby hereditary monarchy. They aren't.
You know, Prince Harry is... Oh, sorry, not Prince Harry anymore.
But he is still
Harry, well, he's still a prince. But very soon, I think, the way he looks now, he'll be doing television advertisements for Birdseye fish fingers, because he looks a bit like Captain Birdseye in the making. And that's all he's good enough for, is doing fish finger ads.
If he earns his
keep, the publicity
good luck to him.
He craves.
Better
and
than
he
us
can bring
paying
his
it.
children in, and they can sit with their backs to the camera, wolfing down fish fingers. Yabba dabba doo.
Let's not just look at the welfare bill. Let's look at the welfare bill that we have from the royals.
Well,
the amount of money that is spent on them.
Quite a lot of millions of pounds in tax. Quite right, and we now know how much they paid. It's good.
Yeah, you don't exactly know the figures. Because, for instance, the King, he dodged inheritance tax. He has a sweetheart deal. Ordinary families, if they've got enough wealth, will pay inheritance tax. He doesn't.
It just gets passed
They're not an ordinary family, Kevin. You see, they're royal.
That's the problem.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
That is the problem.
It's not as if the King and Camilla go jetting off on exotic holidays. They go to Balmoral, for God's sake, with all those midges.
Yeah, they go to one of their places in London, in Gloucestershire, in Norfolk, one of the many places in Scotland.
Well, what about the Beckhams? They behave like as if they were royalty.
Yeah.
They've got places in New York, the south of France.
They have at least earned their money.
Dear me.
I told you he was a Republican.
Well, yeah.
Oh, it's
Victoria.
We started talking about Prince Harry and it turned into a whole abolish the monarchy.
Well, you know, they are losing support. There's great respect for the old now gone Queen. Not the same respect for this lot.
In your dreams, there's not going to be a republic in our lifetime.
Even every Labour MP has sworn an oath of allegiance to the monarch.
Because you have to.
Exactly,
and that is
which is a very good thing.
I do think it is quite bizarre, though, how there's currently nobody staying in Buckingham Palace. Nobody wants to stay in Buckingham Palace. And then Harry's not even allowed to stay
I think
for
it's
a few
going to be
nights. I do think that's
a multi,
bit bizarre.
rather like the Trocadero used to be. You have a bowling alley downstairs, you have some restaurants, maybe a casino.
Museum.
Have Magic Mike shows.
No, it's sacred.
Council houses, open access to the ground.
Yeah.
They could be
Enough of this madness. It's time to get to the news, everyone. Come on, let's hear from Tatiana Sanchez with a 60-second news update.
Thank you. The top stories. The Duke of Sussex will begin a week of engagements, having returned to the UK. He'll also be finding out the results of a court case that he and others brought against the publishers of the Daily Mail with claims of unlawful information gathering. A&L strongly denies the claims. Kemi Badenoch has warned that silly season is not for the people running the country as she hit out at her political rivals today. Speaking at a rally in central London where she spoke about defence funding, Mrs Badenoch said Burnham wants a summer holiday, Farage is in hiding and Starmer is retiring. That's as Keir Starmer's heading into what could be a difficult NATO summit after the US warned allies they're not spending enough on defence. Officials pointed to a £15 billion boost to defence spending in last week's long-delayed defence investment plan, saying Sir Keir Starmer would use the summit to demonstrate how we're turning these pledges into action. The prison's watchdog says it'll keep a close eye on criminals released early from jail under a government scheme. That's amid concerns that rapists could be among them. Those are the latest headlines. More at 12 o'clock.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Tatiana, thank you for that. Now, we all need some light news. Our very own political editor, Christopher Hope, met with the Conservative Party activist James McAlpine earlier, standing at a strong 7'2". He absolutely towered over him. Can we see that again? It was a bit of a short clip there, wasn't it? Should we watch it again?
Here he is.
7'2". I'm only 5'4".
I've met that chap. It really is. I mean, you get a crick in your neck talking to him.
Oh, bless him. He'd probably be good at basketball, but he chose politics instead. Absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely.
Chris is quite tall as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, but not. Yeah, then that is very tall. Now up at noon. Good afternoon, Britain with Tom, and it says Emily there, but you don't look like Emily.
No, please, no. Actually, I would love to look like Emily on the grounds that she's 60 years younger than me, has gorgeous red hair, but I'm definitely not. But he's my kind of man, by the way.
Can I just say about James McAlpine? He burst onto the scene at Conservative Party conference last year, and amongst the political team here at GB News, we were asking who should go and interview him, and we decided it must be Olivia because she was the shortest of all of us.
Oh, bless her.
And
she's also the most talented, but hey.
Oh, bless.
Yeah, but no, I mean, he went and met Kemi Badenoch as well, of course, and the height difference there was pretty extraordinary. Anyway, we're not talking about gentle giants today. No, we're talking about defence, because it is, of course, that crucial NATO conference in Ankara. We're expecting the world leaders to all be starting to arrive this afternoon.
Where basically we are going to be told we're not spending enough money on defence. Trump doesn't like it. Part 356. How many times are we talking about this? What the hell is Keir Starmer doing over there?
But this is the first time we might see it. The body language between these individuals is
They don't even need to
fascinating.
conceal it. And the Times is reporting today that that the President had a long conversation with Nigel Farage and congratulated him on the fact that Starmer's gone.
And then we got this Truth Social post from Donald Trump yesterday saying that they're coming for Nigel in the same way that they came for me, talking about the political establishment and the recent stories about Nigel Farage and his finances.
I actually agree with you, though, Andrew. I'm not going to make a habit of it, honestly, but I think the main story of the day is Labour's Sentencing Act.
I agree.
And Kemi Badenoch going to urge Labour MPs to back her to stop that plan to see sex offenders freed early. Can you imagine being one of those thousands of women who received a letter from your own government this week saying, ever so sorry, but we're letting your rapist out?
I know. And what is Andy Burnham going to do?
Well, Andrew, I think we should probably talk about the fact that the US President Donald Trump is arriving in Ankara now. We can see the plane is just parked up there. I wonder if he'll pull up any punches with Sir Keir Starmer. It does feel a bit of a farce sending an outgoing Prime Minister with a very loose defence plan to a NATO summit. We'll see if he's got anything to say about that.
Legacy, isn't it?
Well, he thinks he's done brilliantly. He thinks he's leaving a very strong legacy. He's comparing himself to, who was it? Tony Blair, Neville Chamberlain. He was comparing himself to some of the greatest leaders this country's ever seen.
There's three different levels to this, though. Number one, there's the fact that the defence plan that Keir Starmer's put forward is $5 billion short.
Yeah.
But then, say that the $5 billion is met and that the plan that is put forward is fully funded at the next budget, as everyone is expected, as Andy Burnham has committed to do. Well, then there's still a big gap compared to what the MOD experts were saying for a very, very long time, that this plan in and of itself is inadequate, even with that $5 billion that hasn't yet been accounted for.
28 billion.
Nowhere near it.
No,
but then even outside of the specific UK defence spending, Donald Trump's also criticised all of NATO countries, saying none of them are pulling their weight. I'm not really sure how comfortable this summit's going to be.
Where's it going to end? I mean, what can anyone actually do about it? I mean, most countries like the UK are absolutely skint. Where's that money going to come from? And what can Donald Trump do?
Yeah, and anyway, the Prime Minister won't be there 10 days' time.
Exactly. Oh, what a waste of time. Anyway,
Where will Andy Burnham be this afternoon for that Commons vote? Will he be in Manchester? I suspect.
Well, I don't know. We could ask him if he'd answer any questions. Oh, but he won't, will he?
All that.
Well, just to remind you all, you're watching on your screens there Air Force One with President Donald Trump on board, just touching down in Ankara for the NATO summit there. OK, then. Still to come on Britain's Newsroom, we'll be talking all of that with the NATO summit and much more.
And a bit more Prince Harry, I think. Britain's Newsroom, GB News.
Welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A hot, sunny one again across the south today. Further north, quite a bit of cloud and some rain, particularly in northern and western Scotland. That'll slowly ease through the day, but damp and drizzly over the Highlands and some of that patchy rain getting into southwest Scotland. A little bit of light rain and drizzle possible on the north coast of Northern Ireland too. The odd light shower over northeast England. It is generally cloudy across the north, plenty of sunshine further south, although some patchy cloud across parts of eastern England. Keeping the temperatures maybe a degree or so down on yesterday's, but we could still get 32, 33 Celsius across the southeast. Hot and sunny in the south. It is obviously not as hot further north where we've got more cloud. And still some outbreaks of rain coming into the Highlands and the Western Isles on and off into the evening, spreading at times into the Northern Isles as well, but should tend to ease as we go through the night. Northern Ireland seeing some breaks in the clouds, so some humid evening sunshine to enjoy across parts of the east of Northern Ireland. Northeast England also brightening up a touch. And further south, misty conditions around some of the coasts in the southwest in particular, but generally the coast is the place to be if you don't like the heat, as temperatures a bit more comfortable here with some sea breezes developing. We'll keep some outbreaks of rain going into the Highlands and the Northern Isles through the night, but otherwise it becomes largely dry nights, long clear spells. Again, might turn a bit misty around some coasts, and quite a warm one across the southeast. Temperatures in the capital may hold up at 19 degrees Celsius, elsewhere down to 15 or 16 degrees to start Wednesday. And again, we have a sunny day across the south, a hot day here, a bit more in the way of sunshine further north as well. The cloud not as thick across Northern Ireland, eastern parts of Scotland, northeast England, seeing some longer spells of sunshine tomorrow, and as a result it'll be hotter as well. Temperatures up into the mid-20s across southern Scotland and Northern Ireland, again into the low 30s once more in the strong sunshine across the south. Goodbye.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
Not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 11:42. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey.
Now, some interesting breaking news. The Ukrainian woman suspected of being behind that bomb attack in Monaco last week has been found dead near Kiev after being shot, according to local media. The body of 39-year-old Anastasia Berezovska was reportedly discovered around 11 o'clock last night. No immediate confirmation from the authorities. Fascinating.
Yeah,
I've been intrigued by this story right from the very beginning. Bomb goes off, somebody loses their foot. What was it all about? And has she been bumped off or has she taken her own life?
Goodness knows. But of course, we'll bring you all the details here on GB News. Now, Sir Keir Starmer is heading into what could be a difficult...
That's an understatement.
That's putting it lightly, isn't it? NATO summit after the US warned allies they're not spending enough on defence. Well, we're joined now by Royal Navy officer and defence expert James Gator. James, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Is this an uncomfortable summit or situation for Sir Keir Starmer?
Well, yes, Bethany, it's very much going to be an uncomfortable time for Keir Starmer. Not just because, of course, he is, as the Americans would say, a lame duck prime minister, but also because the defence investment plan, as announced last Tuesday, is woefully inadequate by any metric for the needs of defence of the UK, but also of NATO. So he's very likely to come in from some strong rebukes from the President of the US, amongst others.
Yeah, and the US ambassador to NATO, James, has said that he's criticised countries for lagging behind on their defence spending and saying they've got to step up. He clearly means Great Britain, the United Kingdom, because we are falling rapidly down that GDP ratio of defence spending. We're at, what, 2.7, if that. Germany way above us, Sweden way above us. So I'm knowing Trump, he's not going to pull his punches when he sees Starmer.
No, he's very unlikely, Andrew, to be pulling any punches. But just look at those figures just for a second. We are still probably the third largest spender in real terms in NATO. But you are right that we are falling down the ladder of contributions in terms of our contribution vice GDP, where we're roughly in the middle of the table at present. And your viewers and listeners will recall that at the last NATO summit, the rather unusual kludge of 5% expenditure as a proportion of GDP was come up with by Mark Rutte, and in many ways led by the UK, forming as it did 3.5% on core defence spending with another 1.5% on other infrastructure. But of course, we're nowhere near that. As you say, 2.7% at the present time, and the DIP simply saying that we'll reach 2.8 by 2029. So, frankly, it isn't good enough, and Donald Trump and the other allied nations will be right to complain.
It's also difficult, isn't it, because we've seen on the front page of the Telegraph today, James, this plan that Starmer's pushing very hard for a long-range European missile, collaborating with our European allies so we don't have to rely so much on US defence. But can he possibly... But this is tying his successor's hands in a way that he might not want them tied.
Well, this is actually quite a complex question, Andrew. Let's just tackle it in parts. First things first, it's actually very good for us to collaborate with other like-minded nations. And indeed, we have done so over many years. Look at the Tornado, for example, the Jaguar, for example, as 2 aircraft, but also now the Type 31s. These are all collaborative projects, whether they be collaborative in terms of manufacture or in terms of development or in terms of sales. So it's very good that we collaborate because there is, as John Healey pointed out very recently, a very important trickle-down effect on the economy of defence spending. However, you are right that America does produce some of the world's best materiel or defence equipment, and it would be wrong to tie the hands of an incoming Prime Minister. But from personal experience and business experience, we already buy a very significant proportion of our defence materiel, in fact, an increasing proportion from America, with all the controls. It's called ITAR, the control.
I'm so sorry, James. We're running out of time in the programme. We'll have to interrupt you there. I really apologise for doing that. Former Royal Navy officer and defence expert James Gator, thank you very much for joining us and for your expertise. OK, let's have a look at your weather.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Pretty much wall-to-wall strong sunshine across the Mediterranean for this week. Very hot too in Spain and Portugal. That heat slowly easing. Pretty warm too in the Canaries. Light winds, lots of blue sky for Spain, Portugal, for Mallorca as well, and most of Italy. Small chance of 1 or 2 showers across the east. The odd shower inland across Greece as well. But most of the Greek islands dry and sunny. Plenty more blue sky to come through the rest of this week. Temperatures easing a touch in Spain.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
But what message would you just like to say? Because this one's voted for by the public.
Yeah.
And it's all down to the viewers. What message have you got for those guys?
Well, we've got the best viewers in the world, haven't we? The most loyal viewers, the best viewers. And, of course, they've supported Breakfast for so many years with Ellie and all the other members of Breakfast. And, you know, we can't do it without them.
Yeah, I think we are unique, GB News, in the way that our viewers are really central to everything that we do. So, you know, with our GB Views at gbnews.com, we're always reading off the comments. We have viewers on all the time to talk to us about our stories. I think we are the only place that actually has our viewers front and centre. So it's so nice to have something back in a Trick Award when they recognised, you know, the hard work that we try and do every single year. So please God, 4 years on the trot would be great, wouldn't it?
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now wearing a Pegasus necklace badge commemorating the airborne forces. This week, 76 years ago, started the Korean War, often known as the Forgotten War. This is an opportunity for remembrance as well, isn't it?
That's right. In remembering with all of the conflicts, you know, it's affected every single person here who's in uniform. But it doesn't just stop there. Once they do get to the end of their service, they're often felt like they're forgotten about. So a big part of it is about remembering those that have fallen, but also those that are still alive and that are still with their own struggles. I wouldn't be able to do the job that I do now. I lead international expeditions and have done for the last 30 years. And the majority of those skills and that skill set and why I get asked back come directly from my time in the service, my time in the Royal Marines.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast has won the Trick Awards for the 4th year on the trot. I'm here with Alex Armstrong and Diamond and Ellie Costello. Guys, congratulations. Ellie, how does it feel?
Just incredible. I was really hoping we could do it 4 years on the bounce, but you can't take these things for granted, can you? And I did think maybe they'll want to give it to someone else this year, and I really, really wanted us to win. Anne is here from her cruise.
Brilliant, yeah.
And Anne, your acceptance speech was amazing. You reflected on your years in the industry. How much does this mean?
I was able to hold one of these was 40 years ago, 1986, for the same sort of breakfast television programme that they said would never catch on.
There you go.
Full circle moment.
And what message have you got for GB News viewers? Because obviously this is voted for by the public.
Oh, it's thanks. I mean, it's real thanks, because that's why this award is so important.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's 8 minutes to midday. Let's go to Cameron Walker, who's outside Buckingham Palace for us. But Harry's not inside, is he, Cameron?
No, Bethany, he is not. A bit of a chaotic day yesterday, of course. He said, she said, back and forth between briefings between Harry's team and Buckingham Palace. And, of course, Prince Harry is still in London. He's, of course, staying privately in accommodation there. It appears that palace officials kind of got fed up with Harry, but also said he missed the deadline, and also a bit of a problem because he's, of course, getting the results of his legal fight against Associated Newspapers. That's the publisher of the Mail and the Mail on Sunday later on today, putting the King potentially in quite a difficult constitutional position. Harry, meanwhile, in a couple of hours' time, is expected to be in central London for the Invictus Games Foundation Conference. It's part of a one-year countdown events taking place ahead of Invictus, taking place in Birmingham in 2027, supporting wounded and sick veterans and serving personnel in a Paralympic-style competition. But, of course, the elephant in the room is that legal case. Prince Harry is alleging unlawful information gathering. The Mail is saying they absolutely did not do that and were prepared to put their own journalists up in order to defend the integrity of their journalism and their sourcing. Harry's wanted to be vindicated here. He is fighting alongside several other high-profile claimants, including Sir Elton John and Sadie Frost. So let's wait and see what that verdict says at 2 o'clock. But, of course, all of this is overshadowing the whole point of Prince Harry being here, which is the Invictus Games, Well Child, and Scottish Little Soldiers, the three charities he still supports here in the UK.
Cameron Walker, thank you so much for that. And, of course, GB News will bring you that news live when that verdict comes through from the High Court about that court case involving Associated Newspapers. That's it from Britain's Newsroom. Up next, Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Dawn. Bethany and I will see you tomorrow.
Well, he has landed in Ankara. Yes, Donald Trump is ready to make mischief at the NATO summit. We're expecting to see him in not too long a time. Do stay with us all afternoon for the fireworks.
How much mincemeat is he going to make of Keir Starmer? We are also talking about the thousands of women who have received letters from their own government warning them that their rapists and child abusers are about to be released on the streets near them. So you will not believe this story. We'll be hearing from a victim. It's very, very emotional. That's completely and profoundly wrong. All of that after the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A hot, sunny one again across the south today. Further north, quite a bit of cloud and some rain, particularly in northern and western Scotland. That'll slowly ease through the day, but damp and drizzly over the Highlands and some of that patchy rain getting into southwest Scotland. A little bit of light rain and drizzle possible on the north coast of Northern Ireland too. The odd light shower over northeast England. It is generally cloudy across the north, plenty of sunshine further south, although some patchy cloud across parts of eastern England. Keeping the temperatures maybe a degree or so down on yesterday's, but we could still get 32, 33 Celsius across the southeast. Hot and sunny in the south. It is obviously not as hot further north where we've got more cloud. And still some outbreaks of rain coming into the Highlands and the Western Isles on and off into the evening, spreading at times into the Northern Isles as well, but should tend to ease as we go through the night. Northern Ireland seeing some breaks in the clouds, so some humid evening sunshine to enjoy across parts of the east of Northern Ireland. Northeast England also brightening up a touch. And further south, misty conditions around some of the coasts in the southwest in particular, but generally the coast is the place to be if you don't like the heat, as temperatures a bit more comfortable here with some sea breezes developing. We'll keep some outbreaks of rain going into the Highlands and the Northern Isles through the night, but otherwise it becomes largely dry nights, long clear spells. Again, might turn a bit misty around some coasts, and quite a warm one across the southeast. Temperatures in the capital may hold up at 19 degrees Celsius, elsewhere down to 15 or 16 degrees to start Wednesday. And again, we have a sunny day across the south, a hot day here, a bit more in the way of sunshine further north as well. The cloud not as thick across Northern Ireland, eastern parts of Scotland, northeast England, seeing some longer spells of sunshine tomorrow, and as a result it'll be hotter as well. Temperatures up into the mid-20s across southern Scotland and Northern Ireland, again into the low 30s once more in the strong sunshine across the south. Goodbye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's not quite midday, but we're going to take you live to Ankara, where the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has just touched down. We can see Air Force One there and the blue carpet being rolled out ahead of Donald Trump's disembarkation of his famous plane. This is going to be a seismic summit. Not just Donald Trump, Keir Starmer, Mark Rutte, the big names of NATO, of course, Emmanuel Macron, Merz and everyone else.
Giorgia Meloni be the interesting one as well, seeing as they have been having a bit of a spat, haven't they? Him accusing her, the President of Italy, of wanting a selfie with him, and actually when basically all she was doing was stopping his planes taking off from her Air Force bases. But it is going to be fascinating. And obviously the big question there is we're going into this NATO summit with Trump threatening NATO, and in particular the UK. He doesn't really go too much on our current Prime Minister, does he? That we're not doing enough. But, I mean, Tom, how many times have we had this conversation where the President of the United States accuses NATO of not doing enough with defence spending?
And, of course, is Donald Trump going to be in a good mood or a bad mood after his 4-1 loss against Little Belgium last night? That must have been rather disappointing for a president who was following this World Cup football tournament with some interest, to the extent of leaning on the authorities, the football authorities, to make sure that one of his own players could get back in yesterday's game. And yet America did lose pretty handsomely to a small non-country. So whether or not...
I think Belgium would disagree with that. Belgium have some very, very good football players, and America, obviously, it's the new sport. They concentrate on the world sports that they are good at, that no one else takes part in. But I would say, I mean, Trump said, like, he sort of, like, had a few conversations with Gianni Infantino, who is the boss of FIFA, but he didn't really influence it. He just pointed out that it wasn't actually fair that America's star player got a red